What's going on, y'all? It's Zeus with Corpus Christi Originals, and this podcast episode we have Jackie Salinas with Touched by Money. Jackie is a hair braider. She has some awesome work. Check her out on TikTok, Instagram. In this podcast episode, we talk a little bit about her backstory and her braiding business, which is awesome. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned to the podcast. Now, before the podcast, I wanted to give a quick shout to Sushiria. They are going to be live selling their food at Comic-Con between June 15th and June 17th. Their sushi is awesome. It is actually Mexican sushi, where it has Mexican food implemented into, sushi rolling type stuff. Excellent menu choices. Check them out July 15th through 17th at Comic-Con. Without further ado, here's the podcast. How you doing, Jackie? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. When we stumbled upon you on TikTok.
Yes.
And dude, your videos are fire. Like we really love your videos. They're funny.
You.
Yeah. So how did you get into all that stuff? Like, when did you decide to start doing all that stuff?
It's so funny because I was at my cousin's wedding, and my cousin's like, "Man, Jackie, like, your braids are so crazy. Like, you need to make a TikTok, and like, you need to post like on TikTok." And I'm like, "Man, my son, I have a TikTok. I tried to use it at first for like a weight loss journey. It didn't really pop off. I just like kind of got bored of it. I was like, nah, I'm good." Well, my son would post on there. And so I was like, man, I don't know. But then I was like, you know what? Cool. I did it. And like the first video that I posted on there, it got like 1,000 views. And I was like, oh shit, okay, maybe my cousin was right. Like, I'm gonna start doing it. So, it took a while for me to like really get comfortable and like really kind of I feel like even now I'm still kind of trying to find my way on TikTok, because I do have a big following on there, but I feel like I gained probably like half of my following I gained from whenever I was trying to braid Kevin Gates' hair. So now that I'm not posting about Kevin Gates, I feel like my videos aren't doing as good as they used to, but I'm trying to get back there, trying to see what the people want to see more of. I feel like they want to see the braids, but not as many people want to see the braids. Like, they want to laugh. They want to see, stupid little things or relatable things. So I'm just still trying to figure that out.
Right. Cool. Yeah. I feel like people like the stuff to learn stuff. I mean, that's people, and TikTok's primarily videos, and YouTube, has like learning videos and stuff. Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Seems like you're on the right track. And I was going to ask you, like, do you get into like teaching how to do what you do, or?
Yeah. In 2018 and 2019, I actually did offer braiding classes. The barbershop that I was at, it was most of the barbers didn't work on Sundays, so it was cool. Like, I would just use the shop, and I would take like 4 girls, 5 girls, whatever. That I feel like I could handle on my own and be able to give them all individual attention. And I did do that for a while, but once I left that shop after COVID, the new shop that I was at, everybody worked on Sunday. Well, not everybody, but the majority of the shop did work on Sunday. So it was like I didn't really have that available to me, So I want to get back into it, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like after COVID, my life's been so crazy that I haven't had time. And people ask me all the time for classes.
Yeah, that's definitely another avenue to make money, because obviously you're making money doing this. You do this full time, don't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what's up. That's awesome. Yeah. So you got hit. So what happened during COVID? Did y'all stop? Did you stop like altogether?
Yeah, I did. Whenever they did the quarantine, like, I really did. I took it serious because I do have kids. My older son has asthma. So I really took that serious, and I didn't want people coming to my house, because before I ever braided in a shop, I braided at home. So my clients were like, "Oh, I could just go to your house," but I'm like, no, I'm not really comfortable with that. So I did stop completely. Thank God for like all the COVID relief. I know a lot of people didn't get the help that they needed, but I was fortunate enough to get the help that I needed. So that worked out for me, honestly.
Right. That's cool. Yeah. So you didn't feel comfortable doing it out of your home.
Yeah.
So did you get more clients like doing it that way, like going to shops, like that people will come in, hey, she braids hair, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do feel like I probably did get more clientele off of being inside of a shop. Whenever I was at home, I would just advertise on Facebook, which I did have a lot of people, but right. Whenever I went to the shop, and when I first went to a shop, I didn't really take it serious. I would just pay my booth rent, like whatever. But then I was like, no, you know what? I need to focus more on doing hair, and I'm going to make it like I'm going to do it. And so I started being in the shop every day and like posting like, hey, I'm braiding hair, pull up, walk-ins welcome, whatever. And of course, like the barbers have clients and they're seeing that I braid hair, and I would start seeing like a lot of times people tag me like, hey, this person does braids whenever somebody's asking. But then I started seeing comments that were like, I used to work at So Blindy, and they would say, oh, there's a girl at So Blindy. There's a girl at So Blindy. Like they might not have known my name, but they know that there's a girl at So Blindy who braids hair. So I feel like I was getting a lot of people off of that as well.
Cool. So at that point, when did you decide to start like branding yourself? Because you're touched by money, right?
Yes. So branding myself, I really like, I don't know. I think I was on Instagram because that's what I would mainly do, because braiding was not a big thing here. It really wasn't. I didn't even think that I was going to be where I'm at today because of braiding hair. And I would get on Instagram, and that's where I would pull a lot of inspiration for different styles from. I would just look at like really, really good braiders on Instagram. And I started noticing, like they all had names like Natalie Styles or Braids by Jenny, or Jenny Braids and stuff like that, So I was like, man, well, one day I saw somebody, she wasn't a hair braider. She was like, I don't know, I think she did facials and stuff like that, but her thing was Touched by Honey. Well, when I was in prison, they used to call me Money Baby. So I was like, Touched by Money, like that's a dope ass name. And I feel like it really embodies me. So I was like, I think I'm going to use that. And, I did that. I had Keith Ramiro make me a logo. And from there, like, I feel like I actually really honestly feel like branding myself and making a logo made me go up a level in hair braiding, because I think people took me more serious once I did that. It wasn't just like, oh, that's some girl who braids hair at her house or whatever,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Man, definitely. And your prices range anywhere between what, $25 to $150?
Yes.
And then you mentioned in one of your videos that you recently you bumped it up.
Yes.
And one of the reasons was because they would tip you more, they would pay you that amount that you wanted anyway, right? Or that you're charging now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, in any industry, if you're doing something and your clients are tipping you more than $10, like $5, I feel like an acceptable tip is $5, $10, whatever, like if they're tipping you 20, 30, 40, if they're tipping you a lot more on top of what you're doing, it's because your prices are too low and they know what you're doing is worth more. So they're not going to be mad at you if you raise your price. You know what I mean? But, and at that, like, I would always feel like too, like, I have people like, I don't care if people don't tip. Tipping is not necessary. But it's, of course, like everybody wants tips, but you're still going to get the same level of service no matter if you tip or not. But there is extras if you do tip. Of course, you're going to be considered first if you are trying to get like a cancellation. Like someone's like, oh, you have a cancellation today. I'm going to go with the person who tips before I go with the person who doesn't tip. Like I'm going to fit them in. Or if they want something, like they just get a little bit more service out of it. And I just feel like my prices were already so low. Like some of my styles, like the price have been the same since I was doing it at home. And honestly, like the skill level has improved so much from 3 years ago. No, not even 3 years, 4 or 5 years ago, that it's like, there's no way I should be charging the same as what I was before, and I'm using different products now. And even at that, the price of the products is going up, like everything's going up. So I understand that there are some people who probably weren't going to be able to keep coming to me after I raised my prices, which, no hard feelings, like, but at the end of the day, this is my bread and butter. This is how I survive. And, I have to provide for kids. I'm a single mom, so I have to look out for us too.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely providing a service, and then at the end of the service, it's a product for the person. So it's like, how do you gauge how much to charge? Because you're taking like hours at a time to do like one job. So you see what I'm saying? So it's like you got to figure out how to charge. How do you do that anyway? Do you charge by like time or by like the finished product? I mean, how do you factor that into your price?
So what I do now is I try to make $50 an hour. So basically that's what my prices go off of. Now, if it starts to become a job that's more difficult, which could be because the hair is thicker, the hair is longer. Some styles require me to braid in positions that are very uncomfortable. I will take that into account, because at the end of the day, like, all of that is a factor. But the main thing that I factor in is the time. So, basically people can know if they know how long a style is going to take, they can pretty much estimate how much I'm going to charge them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. You did that for yourself. You know what I mean? I mean, you have
Yeah.
you got you support. Do you support two? You have two sons, right?
Yes, I have two sons.
Yeah. Do they live with you?
Yes, they live with me. Their
That's
dads are
awesome.
both in prison, so I don't get
Oh
any
wow.
help like that. My
Yeah.
youngest son, his dad's family does help me, but my older son, no, I don't really get any help with him.
Wow, man, that's tough. That's really tough. Single
Yeah.
mom, man, you're doing that's awesome. So yeah, your story is interesting to me because you didn't start doing braiding. I mean, you were how do you say you went to prison for a little bit, right? And I
Yes.
think it's funny because people say that you learned it in prison, but you didn't.
No, and I didn't. It's so
That's so
like
funny.
that's and it almost comes to the point that I'm just like, yes, I learned in prison, guys. That's where I learned because it's like it doesn't
It
matter
helped
how
the
many
brand,
times I
right? It
tell
helped the-
people, yeah, hey, if that's a story that y'all like, then yes, I learned in prison. But
That's
I'm
funny.
like, I learned how to braid hair when my first son was a baby, like when he was first born. Because I would stay at home. The guy that I was with at the time, we all he had 3 kids of his own that lived with us. So he worked and I would stay home with all the kids. None of them were old enough to go to school. So I would stay home with them. And I was like, man, I've always like I remember probably being 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. My mom took me to Mexico and got all my hair braided, right? And
Wow,
ever since that day, like I've loved braids and I've loved
crazy.
them, but my mom didn't know how to braid hair, and I didn't have any friends at the time that knew. Once I got to high school, I did have one, but it's always like, Mom, take me to Mexico so they could braid my hair, right? I don't always just
Wow.
get like halfway or whatever. And so, whenever I was a stay-at-home mom, I was like, you know what? My ex-husband, he had 3 little girls, so I was like, I'm gonna learn how to braid hair so I could do their hair and whatever. So I
Yeah.
learned at home, and I mean, I can go back on my memories on Facebook and see where I'm like, hey, who wants? And I also had like I wanted to cut hair, so I'm like, who wants a haircut or who wants their hair braided? Like I was really trying to do it. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. I had more people hit me up for haircuts than like actually braids. So I'm like,
That's
okay,
funny.
well, obviously braiding's not a thing, right? But at least I knew how to do it for myself, and if my stepdaughters wanted it, I could do it for them. So I was like,
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm happy with that.
That's cool.
It did come in handy when I was in prison. You know what I mean? It did come in
Wow,
handy in
crazy.
prison.
Yeah.
And after prison, like I went to barber school. I always, ever since I was in middle school, I wanted to do hair. At first, I wanted to like dye hair and stuff like that. Like I wanted to do women's hair. And
Mhm.
then I was like, once I started doing that stuff for myself and getting
Yeah.
it done, and then and hearing stories from my hairstylist about how when people get mad or whatever, I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't want to mess anybody's hair up like that, because when you're talking about dyeing a woman's hair or even cutting a woman's hair, I know the feeling when somebody cuts my hair too short. I just cut my own hair and I cut it too short, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know that feeling, and I don't want to
Funny.
make anybody feel like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, nah. I transitioned to wanting to cut hair because of my little boys.
All
And
right.
then I just never went to barber school. But whenever I got out of prison, I had that opportunity because I was in the halfway house. And,
Crazy.
in order to get out the halfway house, I either needed to have a job or go to school. So,
Mm.
anybody knows that it is hard. I'm not going to say that it's not hard to get a job when you got out of prison, because it is.
Wow.
Like, people do judge you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I signed up for barber school. It was taking a long time because of financial aid. But I ended up getting a job in the meantime to get out.
Mhm.
And so then when I started in barber school, my first day there was a guy trying to braid hair on a mannequin. And I
Mm.
asked him, I was like, do they teach you how to braid hair here? And he's like, no, I'm really just trying to teach myself. So I said,
Mm.
that's cool. Like, I know how to braid hair. So if you have any questions, like, ask me, like, I'll help you. And he's like, oh, yeah. So I started showing him on the mannequin. And like the other students are like, oh my God, like you could braid hair and braid my hair, right? So I'm like,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
cool. I started braiding
Wow.
people's hair at the school, and I'm like, man, like I made a little $25 at the school that day, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like I like this. And this one girl, she's like, you need to take pictures of all the braids that you do and post them on Facebook. Like people will come to you and they'll pay you. And I'm like, girl, yeah, right. Like I tried
Mm.
that, I tried that like 10 years ago. And she's like, no, dude, for real, listen to me for real. So I'm like, all right, cool. I posted it on Facebook, and like it did start to take off. And mainly I was doing like men's braids and stuff like that, or like simple women's braids. And I know that I remember when I was in prison, we used to watch outside. We used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians a lot. And I
Right.
know that they would be getting these two braids, but they would get it with weave with hair added in. And I'm like, I need to learn how to do that, because I know that if I learn how to do that, I'm gonna have so many girls coming to me for that. So
Oh,
I taught myself off of when I originally taught myself how to braid hair, I taught myself off of YouTube. So I looked that up on YouTube, tried
right.
it on myself. It was so ugly, but I tried it, you know.
Yeah,
Then I
yeah.
had a friend that she was very open to. She loved braids, so she was so open to me trying stuff on her hair. And so I started trying it on her and started getting better at it. And then yeah, I feel like doing those two Dutch braids like that really elevated me too to a lot more clientele than what I had
Wow.
before.
So like that was
Yeah.
the style at the time, so everybody wanted it,
Yeah, I
and
think
you
the
were able to.
Kardashians were making it very popular, you know? So it
Wow,
was like just
interesting.
a really good timing for me to hop in to the
Dang,
braiding.
that's freaking
Yeah.
awesome. So why do you add the extra hair just for more thickness in it, or what? I was wondering.
Yeah, some girls do it for thickness. I mean, and I'll say girls, but men do it as well. Some people do it for thickness, some people do it for length. Me, I do it for thickness and length because I have thin hair. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll catch me when I have when I have the four braids in my hair. I don't know if you ever seen one of my videos like that. When I have the four braids, I don't add hair except for like at the end just to make my bun a little bit thicker. But yeah,
Mhm.
like I usually like if I do the two braids, I like them thick, so I'll add like a lot of hair and I like them long.
Yeah, that's cool. And most of your it's interesting because most of your clientele is like Hispanic or Mexican, I guess you could
Yes,
say. Yeah.
yes.
How do you feel about like that like are there people that are like African American or however you want to say it that do that around here, and do they, you know what I mean, do African Americans come or black people come to you, or how
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that type of stuff?
I do have a lot of black clients. I feel like I might have more male clients that are black opposed to female.
Hmm.
I have a lot of mixed clients too, because of course, the population down here. But
Interesting, yeah.
I know that there's probably like a lot of black people out there that don't want to try me because I'm Mexican, and I've experienced that.
Wow.
I have clients that they'll be like, yeah, these girls are like that they liked my braids, but when I told them who did them, all of a sudden they weren't good no more, and it's
That's
like
so
because you're
interesting.
Mexican,
That's
and
crazy.
or I've had people say that they come and they're like, oh, I thought you were black, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know why you would think that. You see my logo, like I'm not black on my logo, but whatever, like it is what it is. But
Right.
yeah, and I feel like even on TikTok, I get a lot of hate about that too. So it's like, and I've had people also say like, oh, you don't like that I wasn't advertising enough black hair on my page, but it's like I post what I do. I mean, I can't force more black people to come to me. Like when I do a black person's hair, I post their hair too. I post everybody's hair. Like I mean, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say I post everybody because I don't post everybody because there's some days where I'm just going so fast I don't even have time to take pictures. Like
Right.
so I post as I can, but I try to like once I had somebody like hating in my inbox about it, I was like, okay, let me try to make more of a point to post more black hairstyles. But the other thing too is that I don't offer like a lot of box braids or styles that have really small braids just because of the time that it takes. There's other women out here that braid hair that can do those styles way faster than me. So I'll leave that to them as opposed I know what I'm good at. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna stick to my little avenue, and maybe that's why I have more male clients or more Hispanic clients as opposed to female clients or black clients. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's interesting too. Like how you say the length of the hair, because black people have real short hair, a lot of them, and
Yeah.
just to, and it's crazy because I saw your I think it was a live video, a couple of live videos you had. Oh my gosh, it took you an hour, 2 hours. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you have your long nails, and it seems like your nails like help you divide the hair. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
do
The
you?
nails definitely help.
Yeah. So and you have them kind of like sharpened. Do you do that? You do that on purpose?
Yes, yeah, I have them pointy right now. My nails are so bad; they're like no, more than half of them are broken. Seven of them are broken. I don't know what happened. It's I guess because I got them too long this last time. But yeah, I leave them pointy so that it's easier while I'm braiding to actually like pick the hair up and keep going, as opposed to having to get my comb and
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
faster. But whenever I do get them too long, it does start to become a problem for whenever I'm doing shorter hair or when I'm braiding down to the end because now the nails are like
Yeah. Yeah.
hitting each other.
Yeah.
It's like a problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
like literally like these nails broke and like this is how long they are, right? This is how long they're supposed to be. So like this
Yeah.
one broke, but I have to shave it until like at least a little bit of a point or I can't braid it. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
braid with it like that because then it's like a problem. It's like a little nub and it's not doing anything.
That's funny. So now you got the gel, the hair gel.
Yes.
How'd you get that going? I mean, did you have somebody make that for you? How'd you get that going?
Yeah, man. Me and my nail tech, we linked up on that. She helped me out. She really looks out for me. She has been in business for a long time, so she has a lot of people that she's in touch with. So she helped me with
Wow.
that. We're also looking into doing scalp oil and like a refreshing spray for your braids as well. So we're
Yeah,
looking into that.
that's cool. How long do the braids last whenever you do somebody's head or hair or whatever? How long
Hmm.
does it last to keep it fresh like that? You know what I mean? Not fresh, but to where the hair's not just sticking out little picos everywhere. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So a lot of that depends on the person's hair, and
Mhm.
it also like depends on their lifestyle. But like I have some clients that they're really good with the aftercare for their hair, and their braids will look really good for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
There's some that maybe it's just like a week. A week. I know there's some of them that it's like a couple of days, and I'm like, you're not sleeping with your wave cap, right? And they're like, no. So I'm like, yeah, I know how it is. Like when I do my son's hair, like his hair
Yeah.
would get frizzy so fast, but it's like he'll never sleep with his do rag. He'll never wear his shower cap in the shower.
Mhm.
So I mean, I know like whenever people try to be like, oh well, the hair messed up real quick, but I'm like, okay, so I have a little kid at home and I know how he acts, so I can tell by the way that your hair's messed up. Like it's not just like from the way I braided it; it's from the way you're taking care of it.
Yeah, right on. So you're not taking any clients younger than 6 years old anymore.
Right. I'm like, I have enough. Like the ones that I have right now are enough. It's
That's
just
funny.
like it's hard, like in the beginning, whenever I first started braiding hair, like I don't care who you were. Like I'm doing your hair. You could be I mean, I'm not gonna say anybody because I'm gonna draw the line at like a little tiny baby. But I did do like I think the youngest that I did was like a year and a half.
Oh
But
wow.
and that's because two of those kids that were a year and a half when I started braiding their hair, I still braid it to this day. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's cool, but like some of them it's just too hard, especially like Hispanic kids. If their hair if they have like really fine thin hair, like I tell people like I don't suggest braiding it because it's not gonna
Mm.
last. If
Mm.
their hair has a little bit of texture, then okay, it's different. But like that was a problem I was having was like these little tiny kids coming and their hair so baby fine that it's not lasting and they're wasting their money because as soon as it's done, then the baby's like this, boom, pulls the braid out because the hair is just there's nothing you can do. Like the hair is just so short and it's also so silky that it's just like boom,
Mm.
pull it right out. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why like I stopped doing kids that young. Also the fact that I was in a barbershop setting. Sometimes, it's not really appropriate for kids in there, and I can't control every grown man in the shop and
Mm.
what they talk about, especially the clients. Like, I can have a little bit of say so with the barbers, but when it comes to clients and what they talk about, you know, it's like sometimes it gets inappropriate in there. I mean, I'm sure you know how
Right.
it gets in barbershops sometimes. Like, it's not
Yeah.
always like that, but it is like that sometimes. It's unfortunate, but, I don't really feel like if I was in more of a family oriented barbershop, it would be different. Most of the people in the shop that I'm at, they have an age limit on kids as well. So it was like
Mm.
we really didn't have a lot of kid clients in there. And then of course the crying, a lot of I don't mind it. I have kids, I don't mind it, but
Right.
some of the barbers like they don't want to hear that, they don't want to hear kids screaming and crying and
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, no kidding. That's yeah. So you mentioned that. That's interesting. Like what people talk about in the barbershop. Has there ever been a time where y'all are like, hey, all right, that's enough? You know what I mean? Have you ever had to do? Y'all ever had to do that?
Yeah, I've had a client tell us if we could stop cussing so much. I have a
Mm.
bad mouth and I try to work on it. But yeah, I've had that situation like me and one of the barbers. It was just me and another barber in there and he was like, "Hey, can y'all like please stop cussing so much like the kid my son's here." And there was
Mm.
like another time too like the parents didn't say anything, but I hear like the stuff that they were talking about, like strippers and all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, there's these two little
There's
boys in
yeah.
here, and I mean
Wow.
they're boys. I mean it's
Mm.
better than being girls in there, but at the same time, like you don't know what somebody wants their kids exposed to, So whenever I see kids in the shop, I try to like be like, you know what, I want to say something to one of the barbers. I'm like, I'll tell you later. You know, like I'll just try to
Yeah.
cut it short.
Yeah, it's cool that you're conscious of that, and it shows that you care about people around, which is a good thing in service when it comes to being in service. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
you
for
go to
sure.
a restaurant, and you imagine the waiters cussing to each other, talking to each other like that. You're like, what the heck? I'm here to be served, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
yeah, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So you recently moved to where's your which barbershop are you working out of now?
So now I'm at Blurry Phase, which is in the same shopping center as the Easy Pond that's on Weber and SPID.
Oh, by Boozers.
Boozers is yes, by Boozers, yes.
Yeah, a lot of the audience on our page, they know Boozers.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you moved from. So have you've been at different barbershops? You moved from one recently.
Yeah, from On Point. Yeah, I've been at this is my third barbershop that I've been at.
Is there like a? Do you just? I mean, what happens? How come you just move just to move
Yeah,
around?
so like the first one was like a conflict with like me and the owner and stuff like that, and I had already been planning on moving to the shop that I went to.
Right.
Uh due to situations with the other barbers there. But I just like I kept staying for the owner, and then during the quarantine we just decided like, nah, it's best if I leave. And I'm
Right.
really glad that I did because I had this idea like, and I'm not trying to talk down on the shop that I was at because I did love that shop like, and it was great for the time, but me being the braider that I am now, like I could never go back to a shop like that,
Crazy.
just like anything, there's levels to these shops. Like, you have a basic barbershop, you have a high end barbershop, you have a hood barbershop. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, and it's really crazy because I feel like when I was at the hood barbershop, I had so much clientele that did not belong in there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't even believe that they were coming to me over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
glad,
interesting.
like, yeah, and now at the shop that I'm at, it's just me and two other barbers, so it's a lot more intimate. Most of the time, I have like a pretty open schedule. Like I'm there 9 to 7 pretty much every day.
Mhm,
On some days just till 6 because my son's football schedule, but
mhm.
I'm there all day. So most of the time I'm actually there alone. I would say like 50% of the time I'm alone, and the other half I'm with the other two barbers. So
Yeah, that's
it's a little bit more
interesting.
intimate experience. The other shop I was at, it's like we were pretty much all there all the time. Occasionally it would be like me and one or two barbers. It would like be very rare that it would be just me in the shop.
Yeah. Do you have to have like a certificate or something to do what you do?
No, for braiding hair you don't.
Really? Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Do you know why?
I believe because we don't use chemicals or any
Mm.
kind of sharp instruments for it.
Wow.
I think that once you start using chemicals and stuff like that, then you need the license. Because like if I wanted to do like relaxers or perms, of course you need your cosmetology or barber license for that. Even like sew-ins, because you're using a needle, you
Mm.
need. I'm not sure what license you need, but you're supposed to have a license for that.
Yeah. So what do you call yourself? Like, because I know
A,
there's like. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm just a braider. That's what they used to tell me at
Braider.
the shop.
Yeah.
You're just a braider.
Yeah. I put a post recently. I was like, I don't know what to call her. I was just a hairstylist, barber,
Yeah,
or I mean, what do I call you? It was
yeah,
funny.
braider.
Yeah, Braider, that's awesome. Yeah, and then man, you guys need to go check her out. So they find you at Touch by Money on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, right? Sorry, I
Yes,
just had this down
even
here.
Snapchat. All my social
Mm.
media platforms are touched by money.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Touch by Money, cool. You put the name Touch by Money down there. All right,
Yeah.
so people usually put their name. That's awesome. So which schools did you go to here in Corpus?
I went to Grant, I went to Calallen, and I went to Carroll.
Carolina. Which HEB do you shop at?
When I was in Calallen? Or no,
Like which one?
now. You
Yeah,
know
which one
what?
do you go to now?
I don't go to HEB. You know what? Like one day I'm gonna get my life together and I'm gonna be that mom that goes to HEB and buys food to cook at home. But like right now, the way my life is, I don't even like the last time that I went to HEB for groceries.
Mhm.
I don't even remember.
Okay.
Maybe whenever the freeze happens.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last time I cooked. I know that. That was the last time I cooked.
Yeah. You remember what you cooked?
Yeah, I made fideo.
Oh, dang. I haven't had fidel in a minute.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Fidel's good. All right, I'm trying to look at my notes here, see what else I got. You covered a lot of stuff. Oh, do you mind well, I don't know if you want to talk about it. Maybe like your story of why you went to prison.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to.
We can talk about that. Yeah. So a lot I feel like too that it really does have a lot to do with my success in braiding, honestly. But uh
Mhm.
before I was a hair braider, I sold drugs, right? Like, just to be honest about it. Like, and I knew a lot of people. Like, that's
Mhm.
probably why I went to prison, because I was moving so fast and working with so many different people. So I feel like a lot of that, people knowing me from that, and me having, I guess you could say, like, street cred or whatever. Like, people wanted to support me when I came home, and when they saw, like, okay, you're doing something right. Like, a lot of people from my past, I'll say, like, from my past or whatever, like, they came and they'll come get their hair done, or they'll support. Support goes way more than just like coming and giving me money, like buying products or doing their hair. Like,
Yeah.
just posting my work on Facebook, sharing stuff on Instagram, tagging me, telling people about me. Like, that's a really huge form of support as well. Like, I have
Mhm.
people who've never got their hair done by me, but they will tag me in every single post when somebody's looking. They will
Awesome.
share all my posts. You know what I mean? So I really do appreciate that support. So the actual reason that I went to prison was because I like to tell everybody, because I answered the phone, and everybody's like, "What? What does that mean?" And I'm like, "Well, basically, somebody called me. I
Mhm.
answered the phone and said, yeah, okay,' but I ended up telling them, like, no, I don't, like, because they wanted me to go to drop the stuff off, and I was like, no, I'm good." And he's like, "Well, I need you to go because you're the one in charge." And when he said that, I was like, nah, this is a
Crazy.
setup. I don't want to go. But my co-defendant, I had told him, like, hey, look, which was my boyfriend at the time. I told him, look,
Mhm.
tell him I'm not going. You already know the rules. That I don't like to meet new people. Like, just tell him I'm not going. And he's like, all right. So I guess they keep going back and forth. And he's like, hey, I'm just gonna go because we need the money, which we didn't. He was being greedy. I should have stopped him, but I was just like, you know what? Okay, well, I think that that is a setup. And when they arrest you, don't say shit about me, okay? Like, that's exactly what I told him. And he's like, okay, whatever, right? So he goes. I call him and I'm like, check on him. I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it going? He's like, oh, everything's good. Everything's good. We just got here. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Call me when it's done. He's like, all right. So then he calls me. He's like, everything's good. And I'm like, okay. I said, you didn't meet the guy, right? And he's like, nah, nah, nah. I was like, you just dealt with, the person, right? And he's like, the person that we knew. And he's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. 5 minutes later, he calls me, hey, we got pulled over. And I'm
Mhm.
like, bruh, like, leaving the apartment, or like where at? Like, cause it was, I don't know what the apartments are called now, but Marbella Apartments.
Mhm.
Whenever it was Marbella, that's where this was at. And so he's like, no, like right here on Holly. And I'm like, okay, well, what? He's like, nah, we're good. Like, they're just taking pictures of us. Like, I guess it's gang unit. It was him and his friend. And
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, like, you sure you're good? Because I knew he had other stuff in the car. He's like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, they're not even searching the car. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he gets home, he gives me the money. It's all $100 bills, and I'm just like looking at him like, really? What is this? And he's like, that's what he gave me. And I'm like, so when do we ever pay people like that? Like, when do I go and give people $100 bills? Like, I'm
Mhm.
always, for the amount that they're buying, they're not users. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what hustler is coming and paying $100 bills? And he's like, well, probably because he's traveling. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, now I'm like, okay, I told this dude not to talk to him. Why does he know this information? So now I'm fishing, right? So I'm like, oh, really? Where's he from? He's like, San Antonio. And I'm like, oh, San Antonio. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like, what did he look like? And he's like, he had on a hat, and he had a beard and a mustache. And I'm like, just thinking in my head, like, you told me you didn't meet this guy, right? Like, what are you talking about?
Wow, man.
And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. I told you not to meet these people, right? And he's like, well, and I'm like, okay, I don't even want to hear it. But why would somebody come from up there down here when up there they could have better stuff for a better price. Like, I don't know, like it just works like that. So he's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, look, I don't know why you didn't go to jail today, but I know you sold tuna undercover. And he was like, whatever, right? So then 6 months later, here comes the feds knocking in our, kicking in our door, you know, and they're like, you sold tuna undercover, and I'm sure you don't even remember who it was with how much drugs you sell. And I'm like, I know exactly who it was. I'm like, I know
crazy.
exactly who it was. And then like, and I told my co-defendant, I looked at him and I'm like, bro, I told you, I knew I should have been hard, like more, like I should have been more like, no, you're not going. But I was just like, I didn't really know how it all worked. I didn't think that I was gonna get in trouble, but because I answered the phone, that's why. I mean, and I don't want to say it's just because I answered the phone. Me answering the phone is why they caught me, because they had me on the phone saying, yeah, I got it, whatever. But they never caught me with anything. They never caught me with anything. And they wanted me. They didn't want my co-defendant. My co-defendant got into it because he wanted to go, you know? And so like they also the charge that I actually went to prison for was an ounce that we sold to this person. With the feds, they do it by purity, so it really was like half an ounce, which doesn't really matter because you know how the laws go or whatever. So it's like the same regardless. But after we had hit that lick with him, he wanted to buy more. So really, they were trying to bury me. You know what I mean? And he was asking me for a whole pound, and I was just like, nah, I can't do it. But after him asked me, I told him like, yeah, I can just drop the money off somewhere, and I'll tell you where to pick it up. Well, that right there is enough for a conspiracy. So they had me with what my co-defendant actually sold to him, and then with me saying they had me with conspiracy to deliver a pound. So since it's my first offense, they let me plead out to my lesser charge. So that really worked out for me because I could have been gone for a long time, and I thank God every day. Like I'm so glad that that's what we got caught up for, and it wasn't something else. Like we were like it was a little 3 month period where I was doing things bigger than I had ever done, and I feel like had I kept going, if maybe if they would have caught me we would have made that deal 3 months later than what we did, and then they would have caught me another 3 months later, they probably would have caught me with a lot of stuff in my house that could have put me away for a long time, and it would have been hard physical evidence compared to just somebody's word or me on a phone call. You know what I mean? So I
Man,
am thankful for that.
you gave that a lot of thought, man. That's so crazy.
Yeah,
How long were you there for?
I was there for a year. I did a year on a pretrial probation on a monitor where I could only go to work and come home. CPS took my kids. So I'm really glad too that I was able to stay out for as long as I was beforehand, because I wouldn't have been able to get my kids back, honestly. I wouldn't have been able to get them back. And they didn't want to give them back to me. They did not want to give them back to me until they knew what was going to happen with me at court. But like, I just told them like, I'm gonna get probation. I'm gonna get probation. I knew I wasn't getting probation, but I told them I'm gonna get probation, and so that's when they're like, all right, cool. I mean, they're like really told me that of anybody who's had their kids taken in the way that I did, like thank God I had family, so my kids weren't in foster care or anything. They were with my mom, but I wasn't allowed contact with them unsupervised, so I couldn't live with them, and that was for I want to say 3 months that I couldn't live with them. And then they let me move in with my mom. And then within 2 months of living with my mom, they let me move out with them. And they let me, I didn't have like complete custody back yet, but I think it took me maybe like 6 months to get them back fully. And they're like, that's like the fastest that anybody's ever done it.
Wow.
So yeah,
Amazing.
I was like, man, but you're not taking my kids. Like, you're not taking my kids. There's no way,
Man.
that they're the ones that, even though I was doing wrong, I was doing it for them. Like everything that I do, it's for them. And now I know like doing it the wrong way is more destructive to them than positive. So that's always been my motivation since I came home too, is like, I have to do this for them. I can't go back, especially with them having fathers that are incarcerated as well. They don't have nobody. And even though my family's good, nobody's going to take care of your kid the way you take care of your kids. When my mom would bring my kids to see me in prison, like, I would get so mad at her about the way that they were dressed. They wouldn't have haircuts. And, at the end of the day, like, of course, haircuts and clothes and all that stuff cost money. But I made sure that my kids had a lot of stuff before I left. as far
Mm.
as shoes and clothes that fit. So I don't know why my mom was putting them in clothes that didn't fit them. They were coming to visitation in clothes that were too small, and I'm like, why are you doing that? You know what I mean? And then
Right.
the haircut situation, their barber was like, hey, if you have somebody to bring them, I'll cut their hair for free till you come home.
Mm.
So she really can't say that it's about the money, you know. But my mom said the reason she didn't want to do it is because she don't like the barbershop's atmosphere, which is the
Wow. Okay.
barbershop that I ended up working at first, you
Yeah.
know. Like I said, it's a
Yeah.
good barbershop. And at the time, you know, this is before appointments were a big thing. I feel like now appointments are so big that it's hard to find a barbershop that takes walk-ins. Now his
Mm.
at that time he was only like walk-ins only. So
Mm.
and I mean, even if you did have an appointment, you're gonna wait. So my mom's like, I'm not gonna be waiting in there for 2 hours while they're playing all that rap music, and you know, my mom's real conservative. So she's
Wow.
like, no. I'm like, girl, drop them off. You know, like they're
That's
familiar
funny.
with everybody in there. You know, like
Yeah.
the barber and the barber's girlfriend at the time. The girlfriend at the time, I went to school with her, so she knew my
Mm.
kids well. And then you know, the barber, he's been cutting their hair, so I'm like, he doesn't care if you leave them there. But my mom's like, no, I ain't leaving them anywhere.
That's funny. Wow, man. So as soon as you got out, you were like, I need to do something to make money. I need to do
Yeah.
something other than is that what happened? I mean,
You
what
know,
happened after there?
and it's so crazy because like I feel like when I first came home, and you know, it was just a year, but it's a long time. And especially for kids, and especially like being without your kids, like it's hard to readjust back into, you know, when you're in prison, you are told what to do every minute of the day. You're not doing stuff that you want to do. Like you have free will to an extent, but like you have
Mhm.
to be at this place at this time, and you got to be at this place at this time. You eat here and you eat what we give you. Like you don't have choices. Like so
Crazy.
coming out and having choices
Mhm.
and having freedom, it's like, okay, like I found myself like, and it's messed up, but I found myself like, oh nah, I can't take care of the kids because my mom had them, right? So whenever I
Mhm.
was in the halfway house, she still had them. When I got out of the halfway house, I was still on a monitor for, I want to say, like 2 weeks until my halfway. I only had a month and a half of halfway house, so
Mhm.
I was on the monitor until I got out of the halfway house completely. And so
Mhm.
I was using the monitor as like a reason to not have my kids at home, like, you know. And it's like, it was stupid, but I guess it's just like you get home and you're like, that's the last thing you want to deal with is kids. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's I don't like saying that because I hate that I was like that, but I was like that for like maybe the first month of
Mhm.
actually being home in my house. And then I had to snap out of it. Like, hey,
Wow.
you're a mom. Like, these are your kids, and it's these people have already been taking care of your kids for the last year. Like, it's your turn.
Right.
So I had to really like snap out of that. I had to
Mhm.
start taking. I was working at a hotel and then going to school, so I had to start taking that more serious. You know, because I had bills and I had stuff, and it was like the hotel job wasn't giving me enough money to pay my bills, and especially being in barber school. Barber school is from 12 to 6. So
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to get a job outside of that, you know, because shifts aren't like, it's just not built for like the way that shifts are built, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then to
Yes.
have kids and to have all this other stuff. So I ended up moving back in with my mom. And I think that was probably one of the biggest motivations too, was like, my mom don't care how old you are. If you're in this house, you got rules. So I'm like, I need to get out of here. Like, I need to get out of here. So that was like a big motivation to keep doing the right thing. And I'm not gonna say that I just like got out and was like 100% into the right thing. You know what I mean? I did
Mhm.
like resort back to old ways, and like I would get, and I just knew like I was so scared about it that it's like, if you're gonna be that scared, stop
Mhm.
doing it. Like,
Yeah.
don't do it. Like, you shouldn't have to do it. Like, I was in a relationship from the time that I got out, for I guess for like about 2 years of being out, that it was like, it started off really great. You know, we were both doing the right things and doing everything we needed to do, but he ended up falling into, you know, drug use and
Mm.
I guess basically hustling to support that.
Oh wow.
And whenever we finally called it quits, you know, when he started hustling, it's hard. It's like I always tell my mom too, like I was never addicted to drugs, but I was addicted to money. So when I'm sitting here watching somebody else do it, it's hard to not want to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's basically like a crackhead sitting next to somebody doing crack. So I'm like, I just started doing it too. You know what I'm saying? I started hustling too. So I'm like, whenever we broke up, we would go 50-50 on everything.
Mhm.
Now I felt like, oh, hair's not going to support me. Hair's not going to support me. And that's why I said whenever I started working at the shop, I wasn't taking it serious because I was
Wow.
taking hustling serious. And I was like, I don't even know. Like I would tell myself every night, like, and I'm still on probation at this time, like, or
Mhm.
parole. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, why am I doing this? I'll tell myself every night, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Because if you go back, my mom always told me, if you go back, I'm not taking your kids again.
Mhm.
You better hope that their dads or their dad's family is gonna take them because I'm not gonna take them. My mom and my stepdad are pretty old, like older. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I'm like, man, but it was just hard because I don't like that feeling of not knowing, like, am I gonna be able to take care of myself?
Right.
And so I ended up meeting somebody who, at the time, like he was doing the same thing, but
Mhm.
was like, I'll do it for you. Don't you go to work. Like I'll do this for you. And so I started like saying, you know what, that's when I said I'm gonna take hair more serious and I'm gonna make sure that hair is gonna support everything that I do. And I would tell him and people would like talk shit about it, but it wasn't that he didn't have money because he had a lot of money, but
Right.
I would tell him, don't pay nothing. Please not, I don't want you to pay any of my bills because when you leave, I want to know, and it's fucked up to say that, but just if you leave or whatever, I want to know that I could pay all my bills without
Right.
you because I don't ever want to feel the way that I just felt with this other
Right.
dude again. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, he took over that or whatever, but it didn't give me peace. It did not give me peace. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, you have to
Mhm.
stop too. Like, if you want to be with us, like, you're gonna have to stop because I'm not leaving my kids. I'm not leaving
Wow.
them. And I know, like, even if I'm not doing anything, it don't matter what you tell those police
Mhm.
because I'm pretty sure it's gonna become federal or whatever, and the feds are not gonna play with me. They're gonna.
Mhm.
You've already been once,
Yeah.
and whenever you went the first time, you were the brains of everything, and we know that. So we're not gonna sit here
Crazy.
and think that oh, you had nothing to do with it. So I was like, you have to stop because I can't sleep at night. I'm having nightmares, like whatever. And so he did, like he stopped. We did have our differences and we broke up, but he got all the way legit. He got a job and he still to this day has that job. And I really thought that once we broke up that he wouldn't, but he changed his life too, and he always thanks me for that. But it's like, man,
Mhm.
I couldn't go back to that now. Like I couldn't. Before I would think about it and be like, you know what, okay, okay. But
Right.
see my kids, dude, like I could never like sometimes like even their grandma, like basically it was between their two grandmas to take care of them while I was gone. My mom and then my youngest son's mom. She would
Right.
stay with them during the week, and then my mom would have them on the weekends. And like my youngest son's grandma would tell me like that my baby would like wait by the door. The first 2 weeks that I was gone, like he would wait by the door for me to come home, and I
Oh.
wouldn't come home. And I'm
Oh,
like,
damn.
I can never do that to them again. And it's crazy because even like today, I'm with my son at the pet store, and he's 8. I mean, he's 8. He's 10 now. At the
Yeah.
time, he was 3 when I left. And
Mhm.
he brings up stuff from when he was 2 years old. And I'm just like, that has to be pretty traumatic for you to remember something when you're 2 years old because I don't remember stuff from that young. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I don't ever want to put them through that again, ever.
Mhm. It's good for you. Real good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's it's like a selfless thing when you care more about somebody else than yourself, and especially your kids. I
Yeah.
mean, like just hearing about what happened in Uvalde, it was like, damn, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Imagine if that was our kids over there and so close by. You can't do
Yep.
nothing. Dang, it's a good what you're doing. That's awesome. We're proud of you. So that's awesome. That
Yes,
is
for
awesome.
sure.
So we got two comments. Moni on Facebook. She says, I see her videos on braiding. She does an awesome job.
Thank you.
And then Marcus Canales Sr. says, powerful testimony. I've been in a very similar situation.
And I feel like man, I have family members that tell me like you're proud that you went to prison. And it's not that I'm proud about it. Like, I'm proud that I went through it and here I am today because not everybody goes through it and comes out on top.
Right.
And, like, it's, I don't know, it's hard because I feel like anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. but it's not easy. That's the thing. Like everybody feels like, oh, like this person went to prison and they're good, and you know, and they expect everybody to be like that. But everybody went through different things to get there. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like drug addiction makes it a lot harder. I'm blessed that I was never really like addicted to a drug. Like I'm not gonna say I never did drugs when I was doing what I was doing, but it was never something like other than smoking weed, like I was never doing something every single day, like I have to do this. Like even whenever I got caught up, it was easy to quit smoking. Like it wasn't a problem.
Mm.
But you know, not everybody is like that. So like I said, you know, honest my struggle was the money, was making money. Even, you know, even before I went, while I was still on the monitor, I was still doing stuff. When I came home, I was still doing stuff. But I had to realize like that was my struggle. And I had to
Right.
realize like that it wasn't worth it. But you know, like I have another friend that also went to the feds, you know, and he
Mm-hmm.
became he got out, went to barber school. He owns his own barber shop, and this man is covered in tattoos from his head to his toes.
Crazy.
And it's like that's when I'm like, you know what? He's proof right here too. Like if you want it bad enough, you can do it. Because yes, people are gonna discriminate based. They're gonna judge you based on how you look. They're gonna judge you on your tattoos. I have tattoos on my neck, on my face. People
Right.
do judge me for it, and I'm sure there's people who don't want to bring their kids to get their hair done for me, or people who don't want to get their hair done for me because of how I look.
Right.
But at the same time, there's people who love me for it. You know what I mean? Because I am who I am, and I don't hide it.
Yeah, that's good.
But you
That's
know, a lot
good.
of people can do it.
Yeah, for sure. People need that authenticity from us. That's very awesome, man. I had a so damn, I had something in my mind. So money is like it's kind of like the driver. Sometimes it seems like even before people go to prison, like they go to prison for selling drugs or whatever. Like, cause my dad did sold drugs a lot, and we were almost going to be taken away from my dad. It's kind of similar to your story,
Yeah,
and my mother wasn't around, so something happened. My dad got probation for like a long period of time, and he was able to keep us with him. You know what I mean? My stepmom helped my dad raise us, so it's kind of a lot of people can relate to that. Definitely. What I was thinking is
yeah,
that like people start to do sell drugs, probably because they like drugs, and then another one is because they can make money that way. So it's like we need it. It shows you the importance of money,
yep,
not in a sense that you're greedy for it, but we need it from our
yeah, for
day-to-day
sure.
lives. You see what I'm saying? Like money connects people. It connects you to your clients because they pay you money, you give them a service. You know what I mean? It creates that relationship with one another. And so I don't know, it's interesting to me how people, like you say, like it's a choice. We make a decision.
Yeah,
It's either this or that, and it's like worlds apart when you make this one decision to that one decision. It's like
yes,
how is it so difficult? You know what I mean? How is it so difficult to want to change and do better for yourself? That's awesome.
yeah. You know, it really is though. Honestly, it's
Yeah,
hard.
congratulations on that. Yeah, uh,
Thank you.
yeah, awesome. If anything else, you got anything else you want to share?
Um, Off the top of my head, no. I'm probably like in 30 minutes, I'm like, man, I should have said this or I should have said that. But no, I think we did talk about a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, definitely, I guess if anybody is watching this that's like going through what I went through, and you
Hmm.
need anything, encouragement, advice, whatever, you can always message me on any of my social medias. Um, I feel like I went through what I went through for a reason,
Right.
and I I love to see people. I like to say, uh, growing through what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? Like I love to see it. So anybody, like if they need advice, help, anything, like I'm here. Now being where I'm at, I do have a lot more people that I know that maybe can help them out in whatever they're doing. So I'm
Hmm.
always here for anything like that. Anybody who, especially like young girls that want to start braiding hair, like need help, like do it. Anybody needs advice on like tips on braiding hair, like message me.
Yeah.
I'm so cool. I feel like people get lost in the way that I look and think that I'm mean, and I'm not.
Right.
I'm like so nice and I'm so helpful, but like you have to ask me. I don't just
Yeah.
go giving it, you know what I mean? But you gotta ask, and like it's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm here for anybody that needs me.
That's cool. So what do you? I mean, why do you just? Why do you do that? Like, because some people they won't want to do that. They won't want to help other people out. Like, in that sense, you know, why? Why
You
do you
know,
decide to do that?
because I feel like nobody helped me. Nobody
Right.
helped me, but that's not gonna make me feel like, oh, I'm not gonna help nobody. Like I want to help
Mhm.
everybody to succeed because I hate seeing people doing bad, man. Like that's one
Mhm.
thing that I hate, and I know I can't help everyone, and I know not everybody wants help because at the end of the day, like I know sometimes like people who have come to me for help, like braiding hair, they want to get started braiding hair, like I get
Mhm.
mad because they don't have that same drive and
Mhm.
motivation that I had in the beginning. Like sometimes I feel like people see me now and think
Mhm.
like, oh, she's gonna help me and I'm gonna be where she's at now, but they don't see that to get here.
Right.
There was days, okay, like I told you, I went to barber school from 12 to 6. There's
Mhm.
days that I got up in the morning and I was braiding hair until 11:30, going to school, sometimes going to school late, going to school all day, braiding hair at school for free, like just for tips or whatever. After school, getting out at 6, going and picking up my kids, taking them home, or even taking them with me to more people's houses and braiding hair till 2 in the morning.
Mhm.
And at that time, like I told, I was living with my mom, so I'm not bringing people to my house to do hair. I'm going to everybody's house and doing their hair. And like I said, till 2 in the morning, and people don't see that. And I was
Mhm.
doing that every single day. I wasn't taking a day off. If you hit me up and you wanted braids, all right, I'm coming. Like I'm coming. I'm gonna go over there. If you hit me up with some style that I've never done, yeah, I
Mhm.
could do it. I'm coming. You know what I mean? I'm coming. Or I'll tell them like I haven't done it. I'll try it, but I'm not gonna charge you like a crazy price because it's gonna be my first time. Like,
Right.
I put in a lot of work to get to where I'm at. And people think too, like, because I have all these rules for booking with me and I'm like, use the app, do this, do that, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But because I had to be the way I was before to get to this point, now I can be picky. Now
Mhm.
I can be choosy on who I service and who I don't service.
Right.
I do the booking app not only because it's more convenient for me and my clients, whether they think so or not. It is more convenient. Some people
Nice.
don't believe that, but it is. But also, it also puts like a little bit of emphasis on who really wants to get their hair done by me because you have to go download the app, you have to
Right.
go on there and book the appointment, and then you have to
Mm.
pay a deposit. Some people don't
Right.
want to do all that, and that's fine because I don't. You obviously don't want your hair done by me, but people do all that, and that shows like, hey, I want to get my hair done with you or whatever. And it's like I tell people all the time, it's like the same thing like with tattoo artists, like,
Mm.
oh, I don't want to pay a deposit. Oh, I don't want to wait 3 months. Well, then you really don't want that tattoo from that person. Like,
Right.
go to. I mean, there's somebody out here for everybody. There's a braider out there that will answer your phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, "Yeah, I got you tomorrow," or whatever. Like, but that's not me no more.
Mhm.
There's a tattoo artist that'll take you as a walk-in, but there's other ones that won't. Like there's somebody out here for everybody. Honestly,
Right. That's a good strategy because you weed out the ones that actually want it and they're actually
yeah,
willing
and
to
the
pay
ones
for
that
it.
exactly, or the ones that might waste your time and book appointments, not show up, come late. Like I had a
Mhm.
lot of people that it was hard to get them when I switched over to a shop. It was hard to get a lot of people on to being on time. And
Mhm.
before I was a lot more relaxed about it because I needed it. Like I need you to come because I might not have somebody after you. But
Right.
once it got to a point to where it's like, yeah, I got a person at 11, I got a person at 12, I got a person at 1. If you come 30 minutes late,
Mhm.
everybody's getting late and then it just gets pushed back and back and back. And I remember at So Blindy there was times that I would have clients there waiting for me for an hour, for 2 hours, and they had
Mhm.
an appointment, and I hated that that was happening. You know what I'm saying? And they would wait, and I would feel so bad, and I would want to give them a discount. But sometimes there are days where it's like, I really can't give them no discount because I need this money because this is the last money I'm going to make for my rent. Because at that
Right.
time, like I said, I was in a lot different position than I am now. Now I'm a lot
Right.
more
Right.
comfortable. But,
Mhm.
like back then, and I would just feel so bad, like, damn. So that's when I started feeling like, you know what? I don't want to. When I went to the new shop, I was like, I don't want to waste anyone's time. And I'm
Mhm.
not gonna say that none of my clients ever have to wait. Like, so there's times when they do have to wait 30 minutes, or heaven forbid they have to wait for an hour, because I really, like, that happens every once in a while when I just misjudge somebody's hair and I'm like, oh damn, this took a lot longer than I expected. But
Mhm.
like, I try not to waste people's time anymore because I don't want my time wasted. You know what I
Right.
mean? Everybody's time is valuable, and I can't say that my time is more valuable than the next person. All of our times are valuable. So
Yeah, for
Yeah, it's
sure,
like a
man.
big thing for me now.
That's awesome, man. Man, there's a lot of stuff. There's more stuff I want to ask you, but I got to wrap it up here. My kids
Yeah,
are over
for
here. My
sure.
wife's waiting on me, so I really appreciate you coming on, Jackie.
No problem.
Yeah. So how we find you on? How do we find you online?
Touch by Money on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even Snapchat. I'm on all those platforms. You can message me on any of those. I guess really just Instagram and Facebook because TikTok you have to be friends. But anything else, you can message me questions. Even my Snapchat is public, so you can follow me on Snapchat. You can message me there as well. If you want to book an appointment with me, download the app Booksy and you just search for Touch by Money, and I have all my prices, all my availability, everything's on there.
Nice. Yeah, I'll leave links in the description also, so you guys can find her there.
Thank
All
you.
right, Jackie. Thank you so much.
No
Enjoy the rest of your
problem.
day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. That was Jackie Salinas of Touched by Money. There's links in the description where you can find her on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. And also, if you want to support this podcast, check out the merch at corpuschristioriginals.com.